now I'm going to give you something you can do to actually implement these core values in your daily life. Living by your values can be so empowering and absolutely is aligned with self-forgiveness. Hi there, welcome to part 4 of self-forgiveness. In the 3 previous videos, I talked about the importance of being able to forgive yourself, starting with number 1, which gave the 5-step framework around self-forgiveness. Video number 2 talked about how to identify your core values. I gave you 4 steps to go about doing that. Number 3, I mapped out 18 common core values and I gave you some description, some context around what each of those mean. Now, in this 4th video, I am going to go back over those 18 common core values, but now I'm going to give you some tips on how to implement a daily practice or reflection or something you can do to actually implement these core values in your daily life. And as a bonus, what I'm also going to do, which I've done, is in the description below, you will see a link where you can get a free PDF that has this whole self-forgiveness framework mapped out in a nice document for you. So you can take that and do with that what you will. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this series. This is the last of it, video number 4. So let's just dig right in. So the first core value that we talked about was compassion. So how can you implement compassion? It sounds like a good word, but what do you do to do about that? So here's daily practice. Each day, I encourage you to perform one act of kindness for yourself or someone else, like giving a compliment or doing some kind of a small gesture. And then at night, I want you to reflect. So the reflection is at night, you could just jot down one way that you showed compassion that day and do this, make this a habit, because reflection reinforces this habit. So you can go ahead and just think of ways to do that every day. Number 2, integrity. So how do you implement integrity? I mean, it's something you either do or you don't, right? So you start with defining personal boundaries. So I ask you to set boundaries that are aligned with your values. Something that we talked about in video number 2. If you haven't already taken the time to identify your core values, go ahead and get started on doing that. So when you set boundaries that are aligned with your values, like being clear about saying no when you need to, for example, you are more likely to live life in such a way that hopefully you won't have to be forgiving yourself a lot of times, okay? How can you integrate this weekly? Well, I suggest that every week you should reflect. Again, you're reflecting on a moment where you stayed true to yourself and one where you'd like to improve. This keeps you mindful and aware of how you're doing. And by keeping track of this will also build self-awareness for you, which is a good strength for you to have. All right. Number 3, one of my favorites, growth. So small steps that you can do. Choose one skill or a topic that you want to explore each month, like journaling, cooking, reading, drawing, playing an instrument. I don't know, whatever it is that's important to you. Learning bit by bit can build confidence and open new paths for you. Keep a progress journal. I'm a really big fan of journaling, so if you don't have a journal already, go ahead and get one or get more than one. Maybe you have journals for different purposes. I encourage you to write little short entries on what you're learning so that you can track your growth over time. That's a big confidence builder as well. And again, builds on self-awareness. Number 4, resilience. So I encourage everyone to build a resilience toolkit, and here's why. We all know that we're going to be faced with challenges from time to time in life. It's just part of life, and it's going to suck, but we never know when it's going to come. Sometimes it just comes out of left field and bam, we're just sidelined. But if you have a toolkit, a framework, you're prepped for it, and you have some resources that you can rely on, you can act quickly to kind of, offset that impact a bit. So, for example, I would encourage you to have a list of go-to strategies for tough times, like talking to a friend, taking a walk, reading. Sometimes, if you're able to, take a nap. I do that sometimes. I just have days where I just feel off and I'm like, I'm just not feeling this right now. My energy's low. I need to come back to this. Sometimes just take a nap. Sometimes if there's an exercise that you can work through, exercise itself is good. Whatever it is that's going to help you to kind of get through a difficult moment, make sure that you've listed that out so that you know instinctively, okay, what am I going to do? I'm feeling a certain way. Okay, what are my go-to things that I'm going to do? Another thing is practice resilience. So I encourage you to try slightly uncomfortable things. Try doing slightly uncomfortable things every week. Okay. Maybe you need to have a difficult conversation with someone. Maybe you need to prepare for that. Maybe you need to practice standing up for yourself. If it's something where you need to have envision being more confident, something that's uncomfortable, you need to focus on these things and at least think about them, or at least how you would approach them, so that you can stretch your resilience. The more that you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, the better off you're going to be. Hope that makes sense. Number 5, authenticity. So another favorite, morning intention setting. Each morning, set a small intention to act genuinely, like expressing your opinions or embracing your style, without feeling guilty or without worrying about what other people are going to think about it. Live authentically. Nobody gives a rip, honestly. And then an end of day reflection. Again, I love reflection. So reflect on the moments that you felt like you were being true to yourself during the day, and notice, if you can, what was it that brought this authenticity out in you? And whatever that is, try to do more of that. Okay. Number 6, gratitude. Gratitude journal. I already mentioned that in the last video. So write down 3 things that you're grateful for each day. Just trust me on this. Just do it. This can help you keep a positive mindset even during difficult times. Okay. Give thanks. I encourage you to share appreciation with others, like texting someone a thank you or expressing gratitude for that person. And it doesn't have to be something that they did. You could just say, hey, you know what? I haven't mentioned this to you in a while, but I'm really grateful to have you as a friend. Something simple like that can be so uplifting, not only for that other person, but for yourself as well. Number 7, curiosity. Explore something new. Choose one curiosity day each month where you can explore something brand new, whether it's a new place to go eat, or a new book, or you want to try an exotic recipe, or you want to take a road trip somewhere, go somewhere that you've never been before. Just show up and go and explore a little town or something. You could just think of some ideas to just get your brain in a new environment and doing new things. That's going to just grow curiosity in you. And it's, I think it can also foster creativity, which is another core value we're going to come up on shortly. But anyhow, a part of being curiosity involves asking open-ended questions. I challenge you to ask open-ended questions in conversations, which makes these conversations and interactions with other people even more rich. And not only does it make the interaction more rich and engaging, but you actually become a more interesting person by showing that you are actually more interested in the other person. That gives the other person a feeling of appreciation, and it shows that you're not just all about yourself, and you could learn amazing things about people if you just approach these conversations with more curiosity. And being mindful to use open-ended questions deliberately is going to facilitate that a lot easier for you. You'd be amazed at the things that you could learn if you just approach life with more curiosity. Kindness, number 8. We discussed random acts of kindness. I encourage you to perform small, unexpected, kind acts for others, like buying a coffee for the stranger behind you at Starbucks or complimenting a stranger. And also self-kindness for yourself. So start a habit of saying one kind thing to yourself in the morning in the mirror, just to uplift yourself. Doesn't this already make you feel better just going through this list? I know I do. I'm feeling encouraged. Number 9, humility. Acknowledge others. I encourage you to recognize others' strengths and successes genuinely. And again, learning from your mistakes. That's what this self-forgiveness is all about. Learning from your mistakes, knowing that they don't identify you as a person, and continuing to move forward anyway. Humility grows when you view mistakes as learning experiences. And a weekly reflection, again, there's that reflection, a weekly reflection on what you learned that week can help. Humility is really powerful and goes a long way. Justice, number 10, another favorite of mine. Stand up for fairness. I know that sometimes you may feel like it's not possible. It depends on what the situation is and what's at risk. I understand that. But whenever it's possible, and I would push the envelope a little bit if you can, but if you see someone being treated unfairly, I encourage you to speak up. I encourage anyone to speak up. Whether this is about self-forgiveness or not, this is just my PSA. Speak up and stand up against unfairness. Speak out for justice. But of course, do it when it's safe for you to do so, okay? And offer your support. Sometimes just offering support is helpful, even if it's not safe to stand up at the moment. You have to decide how you would implement this, but this is a good value to have. Volunteering can also be a form of standing up for justice. Joining a cause that's close to your heart can give you a sense of contributing to fairness and equality, and giving back to the community and contributing to things that matter to you that will hopefully bring about some kind of justice in the end. So, number 11, responsibility. I talked about this in the last video. Really love this one. Plan tasks. Create a simple daily to-do list to stay on track with your commitments. Be responsible for them, be accountable, be committed. Okay? Own up when things go wrong. When something's getting off track, just first of all, make sure people know. So you're adjusting the expectation as needed. I shouldn't have to say this, but I have to sometimes. You would think that people would know that. But in addition to owning up when things aren't going right, again, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Everything is a learning opportunity. Just pivot that and turn that around and look at it that way. Again, no point in beating yourself up about it if you've done your very best and things just aren't going the way that you wanted them to or that they should. Okay, fine. Adjust, adapt, implement, overcome. You got it, move on. But whatever you do, be responsible, be accountable, and keep your commitments. And communicate. I'm just going to throw that one in there. Number 12, patience. I said that I have trouble with this. In the last video, I said, I don't have a magic answer for you, but hey, maybe I do have somewhat of an answer for you. How to implement more patience. So, I do find that deep breathing helps. Take a few minutes to breathe deeply when you're feeling frustrated, and that can help you stay patient and avoid snap decisions. And I want to also just take a moment to just add there. I'm really happy that I don't remember how long ago it was, but there was a point in my life when I started to realize, maybe I shouldn't make this decision right now. That's pretty mature when you can get to a point where you realize in the moment, this is not the right time to make this decision, because you have achieved a level of self-awareness to know that nothing good is going to come of that if you make that decision right now. This is not ideal. So think about that, okay? Think about that. As far as patience goes, longer term goals, you can set small milestones towards long-term goals like learning new skill or fitness or wellness. That can build your patience for gradual progress, which we all could use more of that, especially when it comes to long-term goals. We want to see the results now, but they're just not going to happen. So what are you going to do? Sit there and be frustrated, or could you just take deliberate action to facilitate more patience in your life? Just make things easier on yourself, okay? Number 13, creativity. Love this one. Daily creative expression. You could try adding a bit of creativity to your day, whether it's doodling or journaling or exploring ideas. Now, like I said in the last video, creativity is not limited to artistic pursuits, but it also involves problem solving and being innovative and thinking outside of the box. So maybe you're that fun person that just likes to pontificate life. It's a good brain exercise too, if you want to just explore some ideas. And you could even do fun things with your friends, like have little weekend debates. I used to have a group of friends when I was younger, and we used to get together and have these like little weekend gatherings, and we would all bring like a dish or something, and it was kind of like game night, but it wasn't really game night. It was bring your hot topic, and we would just sit around and debate and just talk about world issues and try to, solve those problems. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of things by listening to other people's perspectives, and it's quite a hefty life skill to have to be able to do that. So that could be one way of implementing creativity in your life. Again, an idea notebook is also a good idea. You could keep a notebook for random ideas, which will allow you to capture inspiration and explore it later. So keep that creativity on tap. It just makes life so much more interesting, especially when you approach life from a creative perspective. And again, open-ended questions. I think I mentioned that as well in the last video on the creativity part, that when you I think that was curiosity. Scratch that. Okay. Anyway, number 14, connection, quality time. I suggest that you set aside one day a week to connect with someone that you care about, whether by phone or in person. Of course, hopefully you're connecting with your family every day, but this could be a friend. Maybe you have a friend who lives long distance that you don't get to see that often, but just make time to FaceTime them or whatever, Zoom, whatever the case, WhatsApp. Just take time for the people in your life and make sure that you're keeping those connections, because they're so important. Life is short. Make time for the people that matter in your life. I know that sounds so cliche and it should go without saying, but sometimes we get really super busy and we need to be reminded. Part of connection is also listening actively. So practice attentive listening without planning or response. And when you implement active listening as part of your connection routine, you can deepen relationships in a way that you probably never imagined before. And by actively listening, I mean really make eye contact with the person, use body language to let them know that you're paying attention, rephrase things that they said so that they know that you understood what they said and that you understood what they meant. And ask for validation if you're not sure. Don't just skim over it and just let it slide by. If you really, really want to deepen your relationships and really get to know people and really strengthen those connections, take the time to listen actively while they're talking and confirm that you understood what they're saying. And not only does that help you understand them better, but it also sends a message to them that they matter and that you care about what they're saying and that you get what they're saying and you understand. So that's really super important. Number 15, optimism. So how will you implement this? Reframing setbacks. Okay. When things don't go well, find a silver lining or a lesson. I know this sounds repetitive. It's learned for your mistakes. But again, this is a part of being optimistic as well. So when you reflect on the positives, even if it's small, that can help shift your outlook. Okay. And I also am a big fan of visualization. Visualizing a positive outcome for your goals or your projects can encourage you to stay hopeful and stay on track and stay accountable and all these other values that we've already covered. Okay. Number 16, freedom. So while you were going through the activity of identifying your values, when you reflect on those values that you came up with, I want to encourage you, as part of living with the freedom, to define your non-negotiables, right? So outline your non-negotiable choices that you will make to stay true to yourself. Like, it's non-negotiable that I'm going to invest and set aside time to pursue things that are important to me. Spending time in nature, spending time with my friends or my family, or my newfound hobby that I'm doing as part of my learning value or my growth value. So define your non-negotiables. And then in accordance with that, make the commitment and schedule the time. Okay. So each week you could block out me time where you do whatever you feel drawn to without outside input. That's real freedom, isn't it? Being able to do what you want with your time. There you go. Love that. Number 17, courage. Face a fear weekly. Again, this goes back to practicing. I think we talked about how to practice resilience. Try to do something uncomfortable. Okay, so likewise, when it comes to courage, when you have this value of courage, that's going to help you to be more resilient. You see how these are starting to be like connected? So when you face a fear weekly, step into a small discomfort zone each week, like initiating a conversation or trying something unfamiliar. I know this sounds redundant, but in the framework of courage, this is going to build the courage that you need to build the resilience. So just go with it. And with regard to courage, celebrate those brave moments. So at the end of each week, you can write down a moment where you felt brave and courageous and reinforce that feeling by reflecting on it. My favorite word, reflecting. This is why journaling is so important. And I really hope that you take the time to really dig into these exercises and these things that you can do to broaden your life in a way that can be helpful. I mean, I know this video series was about self-forgiveness, but I didn't know how deep all this goes. But how now I hope that you're understanding, as I'm about to come to the last core value here, how living by your values can be so empowering and absolutely is aligned with self-forgiveness and self-love, which is a whole other topic, a whole other series I will cover at a later time. So we're at the last one, and that's balance, right? So weekly self-care check-in. Set aside time to evaluate your balance of your work, your social and personal time, and adjust as needed, all right? Make a self-care list, similar to the resilience toolkit. So you have a list that you can go to when you need it. Hey, why not have a self-care list that you can immediately go to when you feel like you need it? So you can keep a list of relaxing or energizing activities and commit to doing one each day. I think that would be a great idea to implement that in your daily routine. So those are the 18 core values with tips for implementing them into your daily life. This is the last video in the series of self-forgiveness. I hope that you have enjoyed that. If you don't mind and you feel compelled to do so and you've enjoyed this, please click like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for your time and for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.